This is a short video to explain the main outcomes of WorkPackage1 and how they could be interesting to members of the stakeholder network. My name is Christophe Guillotin-Nolfman. I am a researcher at the French National Center for Scientific Research and a member of the ERIMUSE, which is a research lab based in Paris entirely dedicated to musicology. In Polifonia, I am the coordinator of WorkPackage1. This is where our 10 pilot studies happen, which focus on preserving, managing, studying musical heritage, and interacting with it. WorkPackage1 is also the place where a registry of all resources and materials retrieved, used, and produced in the project will be delivered in the form of a web portal. First of all, WorkPackage1 drives the whole project and its development through the pilot studies we are conducting. These studies push the state of the art in relevant, though specific musical heritage use cases, which cover, among others, Italian bell heritage, Dutch organs, interlinking and exploring musical heritage collections through faceted research, or exploring encounters of people in the musical world. These 10 pilots are important project outcomes as such, but beyond their results, the pilots also help us to demonstrate that the methods and tools we develop in the technology provider work packages are effective for preserving, managing, and exploring musical heritage. In particular, we produce not only resources and tools, but also working methods. Therefore, WorkPackage1 is a kind of laboratory to experiment different ways of interacting within large and multidisciplinary teams. We develop strategies for identifying musicological needs, translating them into technical specifications, enriching and publishing our results in real time, and regulating a research ecosystem composed of independent yet interconnected components. These methods are available to the scientific community and can be reused and adapted. Currently, we have 3 major fields of activity within WorkPackage1. First of all, we are working on the Polifonia ecosystem. This is an online infrastructure for the collection of data, software, and documentation related to the project. The main outcome here is to allow the identification of all resources and all tools created in Polifonia. To achieve this, we designed a set of guidelines, recommendations, and standards to regulate the way consortium members, but also external stakeholders, can contribute to the ecosystem. And these results are presented in a rulebook, which includes an annotation schema. Based on the schema, the components are indexed and can be navigated according to their structural relationships. This allows the publication of components in real time. The schema as such is also an important methodological outcome that could be published itself with the view to be adapted to other projects. A second field of work is the Polifonia web portal. This portal will provide curated data produced by the pilots and serve them via user-friendly interfaces. An important challenge here is the harmonization of the content produced by the pilots. Since the scope, the completeness, and the granularity of this data may vary, the main goal is to define a sound narrative to connect music-related domains and to define the target of our impact. In relation to this, the web portal is articulated in 2 main areas. On the one hand, we design interfaces for lay people to enjoy music heritage via interactive stories. And on the other, we build task-driven interfaces to accommodate scholars' research tasks. Finally, WorkPackage1 is working on a socio-technical roadmap. This roadmap is a common methodological framework to coordinate resources, methods, and tools used in the pilots. Other important goals are to centralizing needs and requirements of internal and external stakeholders, mapping objectives and challenges from pilot-specific domains to the technology providers, and monitoring pilot validation. This roadmap is key to the project because it leads to structured, homogeneous, and granular information on the pilot's resources, methods, tools, principles, and guidelines. Based on this, the roadmap has contributed to define our ontology network with its different modules and expected interrelationships. And another outcome is to design tools that accurately articulate the pilot's scientific and technical components within the project. So one of those tools are the man in pasta, which literally means hand in the dough in Italian. The strategy is to involve researchers and developers not only to solve technical issues, but also to discuss disciplinary questions. Finally, this roadmap has led to a validation framework, which is an important cornerstone in that it helps to monitor the pilots and leads to the harmonization of methods, practices, and approaches. One major goal for the next months will be to actually validate the pilots based on this framework. First of all, a wide public will benefit from our 10 pilots with their data, tools, and exploration interfaces. The local cultural institutions, for example, of the city of Bologna, will be able to rely on the resources of the web portal to enhance their heritage and make it explorable in time and space. One of the objectives is also to make the resources created reusable, so the tools we created, for instance, for Bologna, are transposable to other places and adaptable to other contexts. Public heritage institutions may take advantage not only of the results we make available, for example, on Italian Bell heritage, but also of the knowledge representation models created, which may be also adapted and extended. A third groups are students, educators, academics, and researchers from institutions such as schools of general education, conservatories, universities, and research labs. They will benefit from both the granular analytical results and the interfaces developed to analyze, enrich, or complete this data. For example, with the tunes pilots, they will be able to explore the intertextual relations between Dutch and French tunes of the 17th century. With facets, they will be able to identify little-known works in the repertoire. The child pilot will provide them with resources to better understand the relationship between children and music through the ages. And finally, thanks to the analytical annotation interface that we are developing in tonalities, the stakeholders will be able to create their own musical analysis online, compare them, share them, and discuss the different analytical options chosen. Industrial stakeholders, in particular the record industry, are likely to be interested in the techniques we develop to interlink large amounts of musical works stemming from different collections. And finally, the cultural sector of concert halls and public institutions focused on inclusion may be interested in the techniques and resources developed by the Access pilot. The objective is to facilitate access to music for people with disabilities through technical devices and music mind maps. Beyond the pilots, there are also methodological outcomes that could be of interest to public or private research groups who are planning or are already involved in cultural heritage projects. The techniques and methods of the ecosystem, especially the component annotation scheme, can be transferred and adapted to other projects. This reuse is also valuable because it would allow networking not only of internal project resources, but also of the projects themselves. Another outcome would be the socio-technical roadmap, which could also be of interest to public and private institutions. Stakeholders who adapt it will benefit from the methodological experiences we have acquired through the implementation of our bottom-up approach for the creation of tools, such as the man in pasta or of our validation framework.